What's up, everybody? In this video, we're gonna go over how to play defense if you're an undersized guard. If you're under the height of 6'3", as you start to get better and better offensively with your skill, ball handling, footwork, shooting, that kind of whole thing, you're gonna start to realize scoring on bigger guys really is not that difficult. Regardless of how athletic, how long they are, you can find a pocket, you can change directions better, you're generally faster than them, you can get to the rim a little bit better because of that speed. But guarding is really, really hard because regardless of how well you can stay in front of them, they're taller than you, and oftentimes they can just raise up over you. So today we're gonna go over a couple of things that you can do if you're undersized to separate yourself as a defender and give yourself that advantage back. The first thing is get into the weight room. It sounds super self-explanatory, but working with players for so long now, they do not like to lift, okay? If you are undersized, think about the guards that can play defense well in the NBA today. Think of Davion Mitchell, Javon Carter. These guys are stockier. They're kind of like bulldogs, right? So they got some weight on them because they can take those bumps. They could jam people up a lot better. If you are skinny and short, you're not only able to get scored over because they can just raise over you, but they can also bump you, right? And bumps when you're shorter work better because even if there's just a little bit of separation, they have the separation up here too. So if you bump a guy who's 6'6", and they move as much as a guy who's 6'1", you still have more separation over them because you can go up here and you couldn't do that over a 6'6" guy, right? So get into the weight room, eat food, gain a little bit of weight, be smart about it. You don't want to jump up like 15 pounds in a month. Think about like Stephen Curry. If you look at him when he came in, he's a little bit heavier now, but he did it gradually so that he didn't lose his explosiveness. You got to get comfortable jamming people up. And this goes back to being strong, being in the weight room, right? You need to have a little bit of weight on you. You need to have a little bit of strength. But when people are going towards the rim, if you want to be a good defender, you cannot just get pushed around, right? You can't just let them go, so you have to get comfortable jamming. That means you have to play with your chest. If someone's going left and I step in front of them and they feel me, then they will stop if you are strong enough. If you are weak, if you are light, they will just go right through. So getting very comfortable jamming people up where if someone's going left or right, I can just step right in front of them, take all the contact here. It doesn't necessarily need to be a charge, but that's a way we can stop them because that will often encourage them to change directions. And the percentages of people who will actually score after changing direction multiple times begins to really, really dip. And even the percentages of people who actually shoot after changing direction multiple times begins to dip because they know, oh, I'm holding on the ball too long. So if you can get very comfortable stepping in front, jamming them up, stepping in front, jamming them up again, you'll have those percentages begin to dip. You'll be a way better defender. Next thing is to get as explosive, as athletic, and as fast as possible. I don't just mean linear speed, that's important too, but obviously you need lateral speed. You need to be able to change directions very quickly. Again, think of these guards that are really good at defense. They can fly around the court. They can cut, they can change directions, they could turn, they could run, they could slide, they could do all of those things very, very quickly. So get as athletic as humanly possible. The other thing I really want you guys to get good at is swipes. You are not a tall person. You cannot block shots very well, especially in the mid-range. But what you can do is have really, really good hands. If you have great hands, not only will you get more steals, but you'll be able to bother more shots. So most of the times, people are comfortable picking up the ball right down the middle. So, think about like if I'm going in for a pull-up, I would pick the ball up right here. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not comfortable picking the ball up off my hip, but I'd much rather do it here. So you have to get very comfortable trying to block shots and strip shots at the bottom because you're not gonna get here. You're not gonna reach people up at the top, especially as you get to a higher level. So as people are picking up, get really comfortable swiping down here. All right, so that's something you can do to really separate yourself. Even if you don't get the ball, if you can get someone to shoot off their right hip or off their left hip, those percentages will begin to dip, and then you'll be less of a liability on defense. Similar concepts, when people are going up for layups, you're not gonna meet them up there most of the time. Even if you have a 45-inch vertical, it takes you longer to get up there than someone who's 6'6", right? So get very comfortable swiping down here. People love swinging here. That's where you can swipe. These are little tiny things that you can do to separate yourself. So if they're swinging, you swipe. If they're trying to bump you, you can rip it. Like whenever the ball is on the ground, not in the air, not raising over someone's head, that's where you should be living. Another thing you can do to really separate yourself as an undersized defender is pulling the chair. Right, so what this means is a lot of times, regardless of the size of the player who's on offense, they're going to be leaning in for contact. Right? You probably do the same thing when you're on offense. So these bumps, people expect them to happen. People expect there to be some contact there. What you can do is you can pull the chair, meaning you can take that advantage away from them. So as someone's going in to bump, if you just step away and let them kind of fly, they'll be completely off balance. What I've realized with chair pulling is you have to be careful here. You have to do it smart, because players who are experienced, they'll be looking for contact, but if you pull the chair, they're often able to regain that balance. They are, going to fly a little bit, especially if they're, kind of trying to back you down. That's where they will kind of sit down. But when they're driving towards the rim from the perimeter, they can oftentimes regain their balance. So if you're pulling the chair, don't just pull the chair and get out of the play. What I tell players is, if someone's going left and they're about to bump and you go back here, they can regain their balance and they're still going to be able to get to the rim. But if you pull the chair and you're in front of them, then you're still able to kind of make a play on the ball, right? Because now they're in front of you and they're off balance. Before you pulling the chair, they were off balance, but they still got to the rim, so they can sort of figure something out there, get the ball up on the rim. So make sure you're doing it smart. Pull the chair, be comfortable with it, especially when people are in the post. But when they are going in for contact, make sure you're pulling the chair and kind of stepping in front of them where you can still make a play. Last but not least is just to put your body on the line. You are small, but you can take charges. Charges are super annoying to play against, and they're really hard to deal with as a coach, because oftentimes you have athletic guys who are tall, they want to get up and dunk that. But if you could step in front and put your body on the line, not only will your coach love you, will your teammates love you, but you'll annoy the hell out of that other team, and that's what you want to be when you're undersized. You want to be that pest that really annoys people, gets in front, puts your body on the line, and ultimately gives your team the ball back because the other team turned it over. All right, guys, thanks for watching this video. I wanted to make another defensive video because obviously everyone talks about offense. Defense is another part of the game that we really need to focus on. If you like this video, don't hesitate to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on the rest of my socials for more tips on how to be a great basketball player.